mean, the listeners would agree with you.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the Part-Time Avenger, and with me, as always, is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. So it's been a minute since we've talked about anything Star Wars, and I feel like we've never dug into the subject that we're about to. Don't know how it's escaped us. But today we dig into and give our thoughts on The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian, brought to you by Jon Favreau, man of wonder. But I'll tell you exactly why we haven't done The Mandalorian. It's because it takes so much goddamn time to watch TV series. And we did do Obi-Wan, but you're right. Somehow just Mando just kind of escaped us. I think I might be at fault for that because I did not watch those episodes on a regular basis. But season 3, which just recently completed, I did watch on a regular basis. So I'm ready to go, at least for season 3. But I'll try and paw my way through seasons 1 and 2.
We'll get there. I'll help you. I'll hold your hand. But I think that there's a lot to unpack, at least initially, right? This came out early on, or not early on, but like full-blown high pandemic, right? When everybody was at home watching it, and it definitely blew up. It blew up so much so that it was like, could this really be that good? And I'm of the opinion that it absolutely started out at this high point level.
Interesting. So I didn't think at first that was the case. I thought this was a lot of fucking walking or riding through a desert and some shit. And I was like, when are we going to get to the fucking action or the point? Because I feel like it was just so slow. I was okay with it, but I'm just like, this is a short episode. 5 minutes of this is walking or riding in the desert or somewhere, some far off land. And that's 20% of the screen time of just riding or walking and nothing is happening.
The thing about that first season that I think was so brilliant is they were world building. And they didn't use any of the existing world in the in ways that all of the films did, right? They didn't just hop into it and break it. They built around it. They used the concepts, but did exactly what they said they were going to do. They wanted to make a Western in space.
Which
that's
that
exactly
is
what it
definitely
was.
the tone. That's definitely the tone. But you know what? You say that they want to do world building, or they did a good job of world building. Dude, there are so many fucking movies, cartoons, books, everything that do you need to build more worlds or just go off of what people already know or what people might not know because you never fucking showed it on the TV screen or the movie screen?
See, I think the thing that you miss when you talk about world building in Star Wars is the amount of world building done off of the screen. There has been a long history of novels and comics that have filled in gaps for Star Wars for decades. There were so many when Disney bought Star Wars that they decided to say, this was all great, but it's Legends now. And we're going to restart because we literally can't make anything post Return of the Jedi because it's already been written. Like the full time frame for all of these characters is accounted for. And I think that in and of itself kind of became this challenge for everybody involved in Star Wars. And I love that they gave us a character that we never had for one of the most highly revered characters or races or whatever you want to call it in Star Wars, the Mandalorians.
So I'll agree with you to a certain point. Like, yes, they can't do anything. They're, Disney or whoever, their hands are tied because so many books were written on the characters. So there's a lot of character building that happened. And the TV shows, you can build your own characters from scratch, no problem. You don't need to build an entire world where there's a whole bunch of other shit that you never heard about. Go back and do some fan service for all those other worlds that you maybe have read like a line about in a book or something.
I don't think you understand the amount of fan service that is in this television show.
Oh, I'm sure there's a bunch.
Oh man. So fan service starts in this show, right?
But wait, hold on. So for world building, are you talking about the geographical places? Or are you talking about something else?
I'm talking about they zoomed in to the underbelly and just the everything that's not going on with the main forces in the struggle, right? They showed you how everybody was living, because not everybody was living like the rebels or the empire. There was other people, and they showed you what that bounty hunter culture looked like. They showed you what it was like on some of those, outer rim worlds that, they didn't bring Luke, Leia, and Han to the outer rim. Jar Jar didn't get to fly there with Qui-Gon. There was, they left Tatooine for a minute and then they went there. But in general, it was definitely awesome to see this random guy who nobody ever seen, played by an actor that was not nearly as well known as he is now, just kick the door in and just start fucking shit up.
Okay. I thought you meant world building is just the geographical areas of the galaxy that they were exploring or that they'd never heard of. So I'm assuming a lot of those places they have heard of, or there was some mention of stuff.
Some,
obviously, you got
new places.
Yeah, you got the spice running, which was, that line has been said in previous movies and everything. So, okay. All right. So I retract my statement. I thought you were talking about something else entirely. So on with your thoughts.
On with my thoughts. I just enjoyed the fact that this show, since its inception, gave us the most real feeling Star Wars that I've gotten since
Star Wars.
Well, no, like the Clone Wars and Rebels were good, but they were animated, which I have no problem with. You do, but I don't mind. But to get that level of detail and fan service in actual live action is just awesome.
I just thought it was slow as shit. For someone who's not into Star Wars, now let me walk that back. I like Star Wars. I enjoy Star Wars. I have watched the shit out of the original trilogy. I've not really gone into the Clone Wars or any of the animated stuff just because there's so much, and I was never really that into the animated spectrum of all of my stuff. Like even some of the Marvel stuff, I have not watched all the cartoons for that. But for Star Wars, yeah, it's tough, man. There's so much lore out there and there's so many books that I was just like, ooh, that's a rabbit hole that I don't know if I can jump down in my adult life and my professional career. There's just not enough time in the day. And if I did, I'm sure I would enjoy it. But what would happen is I would talk about individual episodes of each animated series or whatever else is out there. And I just don't know if I really have enough time for that in my life. So,
dude, the Clone Wars show is just a beast. I think it's 9 seasons now. But yeah, no, I've consumed it, but it was not a knee-jerk reaction to something. It was done, over time when it was, not as it was being released, but it was over time. But it's nice as somebody who enjoyed those shows that and Rebels, which came out post Disney purchase, to see some of the characters brought into the storyline and all that too. But we'll get to that. I think I want to just go back to the initial season of Mandalorian and casting. Had you heard of Pedro Pascal? I mean,
Oh
we
yeah,
saw him in Game of Thrones. I
yeah.
only knew him from Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. I know I had watched Triple Frontier, which is a really cool Netflix movie with Ben Affleck and Oscar Isaacs. So that was a really sweet. And Charlie Hunnam was in it, I think, too. But yeah, I knew him from a few other projects, and I was pretty surprised they got him to play the Mandalorian, because like, why even get a bigger named actor and hardly ever show his face? And it didn't make sense to me.
I don't feel like he was as big as he is now then.
Sure, no, you're right on that, because he's just gotten a ton of roles since then. But he was big enough to be where people were questioning as to, like, you don't need him in this. Yeah, he's got a cool voice, but you don't need him in this. Save some money on the budget by getting some unknown name.
I don't think they tried to save money on that first season budget at all, because they had just rock stars everywhere. They had Werner Herzog.
Yeah, right.
Who's huge, right?
I would like to see some baby
to do voice work. Like, where's Nick Nolte been? Who knew Nick Nolte was alive?
Yeah. And he was almost dead while doing this voiceover for this show.
It sounded like
he was dead.
It sounded like it, right? They got Taika to come in, who, like, huge, just gigantic talent at that point. Giancarlo Esposito in season 1, like, just gigantic people.
Yeah, it was a good cast,
and
it was cool to see Apollo Creed, Chubbs Peterson, aka Carl Weathers.
So of that group, though, who are you like most excited about or surprised by their performance in season 1?
I was actually really surprised with Gina Carano, and it's really too bad that she's no longer in contention to even be in that series anymore, just because of what went down on her social media posts and all that stuff. But yeah, I was surprised by her, and I thought that character was pretty cool. And I really liked Taika Waititi's IG-11. I thought he was probably my favorite character, because he reminded me very much of K2SO from but yeah, I thought those were my two favorites of that. But I will say there is a dark horse that is Miggs Mayfield, Bill Burr, where I was like, what the fuck is he doing in this? That was so cool to see him. And the fact that, like, his dialogue kind of just talking about, like how, I'm not a stormtrooper, dick, like just how the aim of stormtroopers is just awful, but he was a sniper. So cool. And see someone of like his stand-up comedic background and just like an all-around Billy Red Balls, I'm a prick type of character. And here he is in Star Wars. So that's pretty awesome.
I mean, in the first season, he was not like, he really grew in the second season, but I was like, what the hell is Bill Burr doing acting?
Yeah. Which he's done acting before.
I understand that, but it wasn't anything that I really enjoyed.
You definitely enjoyed Chappelle's Show. He was in it.
I mean, that was so Chappelle Show doesn't count.
You definitely enjoyed Breaking Bad. He was in it.
I did not enjoy Breaking Bad.
What?
Yeah, no, that's a whole
different podcast. Get the
fuck
out of here.
Whole different podcast, bro.
Oh my god.
Whole different podcast. But I think that yeah, I agree. Bill Burr was a surprise, and Bill Burr in season 2 showed depth and range.
Best part of season 2, in my opinion. Well, maybe not the best part, but
not the best part at all.
Yeah.
Not close
really good.
to the best part.
Really good.
but very good, very good. I just think that this show from season one for me, just it had to go slow to really light the fire. But by the end of the season, I mean, it was amazing. And the things that they accomplished, or the things that they innovated to get this show done, still are like, they're so Star Wars to me, because they just did something that didn't exist. Are you familiar with the volume?
No, no. And I actually wanted to ask you a question. How did season one end?
Season one ended with Moff Gideon cutting himself out of a TIE fighter.
Okay, and that was what like IG-11 saved them. Like he went down
Yes.
like the volcano river.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't. It's been a
No,
while, so
no,
I didn't want to intermix season one and season two. But okay,
no.
understood.
They ended season one by showing us the fucking dark saber, which was in. I know you don't know, but that's
Yeah.
okay. It was in Clone Wars, which was a huge show, right? And Dave Filoni worked on it, who now has such a hand in this and all of the live action stuff. Like, talk about a guy who's just absolutely killing it. But yeah, it just brought something that was talked about in the Legends books that were wiped away, and was in so many other places. Like, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Can
we
you give
thought
me
they were
like?
gonna. Go ahead.
Can you give me like a 10-minute or not 10-minute, 10-second explanation of what the dark saber is?
So the dark saber is the lightsaber of a Mandalorian Jedi that was
Mm,
then captured by Mandalorians after that Jedi had died or whatever. To my understanding, at least that was the legend. I could be 100% wrong, and there could be people in our comments just blowing me up. But the significant part of the dark saber to this is it was one of the only weapons that fought back against the Jedi and could stand up to a lightsaber, right? And they introduced another one in Mandalorian, right? Just a whole Beskar spear, which was awesome. That's season 2. But um it denoted the ruler of Mandalore.
okay.
So it was carried by the ruler of Mandalore, and then there was it could only be like one in battle, and
So
it
did they
changed
really
hands a lot.
did they explain that though
In
in
the
the
show,
Mandalorian?
they give you a sprinkle of it, but that deep information isn't hugely important to the plot of the show. But for those hardcore fans, they just fucking know what it is. I mean,
Hmm.
but to the and that's the thing about this show that I think is makes it the best Star Wars we've seen since the original trilogy. Is you don't need to know all the extra shit, because regardless, somebody's got a laser sword. What's going on with that? And that just brings intrigue, because there's nobody on the planet who's going to watch that show who doesn't know what a lightsaber is.
Okay.
See how you don't get it, but you didn't need it to enjoy it? And I
No, I
enjoyed
kind
it.
of did. I did need to get it because that was part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it. Is like, oh shit, I should have watched 9 seasons of whatever the fuck in order for me to understand what's going on. That's where it's like tough. And that's why I understand, like, from a Marvel perspective, like for anyone who's watching some of these movies now, if you go back to like, do you have to watch all the other, 30 MCU movies before this in order to understand what's going on? Sometimes not. But I feel like Star Wars goes very granular with it to where I get caught up of like, oh no, I want to understand why they're making a big deal of this dark saber, or why, this what the fuck is spice running? Like I get it. Like I'm sure they're not smuggling paprika and white pepper, but I need to kind of know what some of these, like the vocabulary is
Yeah.
and what all this stuff is.
I think that they get there though. I think if you, I mean, maybe so I can't speak intelligently to that because I've already consumed all this.
Yeah, I get it.
And
I get it.
and again, I find so much joy in it that it is what it is. Like,
So what the fuck is spice? Because it looks like paprika.
didn't you watch Solo?
Yeah, and it sucked.
But they
So
talked about spice.
did they?
Yeah, it's basically like spice encompasses drugs and takes the appearance of like opium, if you will.
Okay.
Are you disappointed now? It's okay to be disappointed.
I guess I was, you know what I thought spice was? I thought it was like some type of compound in the whatever planet that it was. And it was just there to like, almost like something necessary for nuclear fission. That's
No,
what I thought it was
no,
like.
it's a mineable substance that is basically drugs. Yeah.
I've never seen a high Jedi droid sand person anything. So I don't know.
I mean, if you watch this show, they definitely talked or got there a couple times. But either way,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they got to the gritty part of the world, man. They got to the gritty part of the world. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it and I didn't think about it from that perspective, right? I see enough subtlety in the writing to give, you know, Easter eggs that you know they have to give to continue, you know, to the fandom. But I just liked that there wasn't like this need to drive the story along with some original break off character or somebody who calls themselves Skywalker for no fucking reason.
Okay. Did you have a worst casting for the show?
I feel bad saying this, but Amy Sedaris's character just bugs me.
Really?
Like, grown on me, and I was like, oh, strangers with droids, awesome. But like when you look at everybody else that is just outstanding, yeah, it took me a minute for Carl Weathers too, though. Like it took me a minute.
I didn't realize it was him until the end credits.
Really?
Like it didn't dawn on me. Like
That
I
boy-
picture Apollo Creed being, you know, full, not gray, and just, you know, talking about how he's the best.
I mean,
That's all.
the thing about Carl Weathers is Carl Weathers in everything he's in. Like there's no subtle voice change. There's no method. I'm Carl fucking Weathers. And that's the thing that just get like, I suspend it for Happy Gilmore. Like for some reason, it didn't bother me at all. This, I was like, oh, this is like Apollo Creed in space. Space Apollo.
I guess.
But to hear how he really worked on his acting and directing for this, I really like watching some of the behind the scenes stuff really got me. And I think that I'm amazed that we're this far into this podcast and haven't mentioned the giant little tiny puppet sized hole in our conversation, and that is the worldwide phenomenon of Baby Yoda, the ultimate fan service.
That's my pick for the worst part of the casting.
What?
So
the most intricate little animatronic ever.
I think he's awesome. So I will say I'm not a big fan of the name Grogu. I liked Baby Yoda better. It just seems, you know, cuter.
If you didn't like Grogu, it gets worse from there.
What do you mean?
His name at the end of season 3.
Oh, I must have fucking missed that shit. So.
They added Din to the beginning. He's Din Grogu.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Okay. I didn't think anything
That
of
doesn't
but
flow. That
yeah.
the Din Djarin flows.
But the problem that I have with Grogu is because he's so small, cute, and adorable. This show will need to end the second he starts to talk normal, because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Grogu become some like angsty teen or like Anakin Skywalker type of young voice.
See,
So
it
that's where
worked
I'm
for
at.
you for Groot. Why can't it work for you with Grogu?
No, it doesn't work for me for Groot.
Well, there you go.
That's the difference. Is like Groot but Groot's also a different person.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the adult version of Groot. Baby Groot was cute, sure, but it's a different person. Teenage Groot wasn't a fan of. Didn't like that. It's just like a real teenager. They're no longer cute. They hit puberty. They get all weird and attitude is coming
Dude,
out. You're gonna have
you're
that.
I love that you're almost there. Like you're in for it soon, buddy.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I get in real life. I don't need that in the media that I consume. So what
Life
I think
imitates
of
art.
as cute, you didn't see Webster, in his teenage years bringing home bitches, almost getting them pregnant. Like, no, that show ended like while Webster was still, maybe in second grade, even though he was like
38.
20 something.
No.
But that's my problem with that casting is like he's so cute, he's so adorable, Grogu, that you can't go any older with him. Like you have to do a major time jump in order to skip the awkward phases that you might lose some fan viewership on that.
See, he ages so slowly. I don't think you do.
Right. He ages so slowly, but he's 50 years old. And at some point, and what's the learning curve for how well he speaks? Or is he going to be speaking like Yoda as he gets older? Because that could be cute. That could be cute if you have him as like an adolescent and, chicken nuggies I must have, sure, that's adorable.
Well, maybe we'll find out in this new Daisy Ridley movie.
Maybe.
Never know.
Thoughts on that really quick? Daisy Ridley is Rey Skywalker leading a new Jedi Order.
Arg.
I'm
What
okay
I
with
want
that.
to see is Luke Skywalker leading a new Jedi Order, but I got the fucking Last Jedi.
What you just said is completely false. She is not the last Jedi. Because apparently she's going to be leading a whole new order of them.
Yeah, no, still salty.
Okay.
Still salty.
Some people would argue to say that is the best Star Wars movie.
Those
Not
people
me.
would be fucking wrong.
Oh man, that's so funny. But yeah, I don't know.
Those people are Ryan Johnson's mom. That's it. That's the only person who thinks that's the best Star Wars movie.
I don't know. There's some people out there that really enjoy that movie.
I don't know, man.
Not
Mark
me.
Hamill even dogs it.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill dogs it. So yeah.
But yeah.
But back to the Mandalorian. So we talked
back to the good stuff.
Yeah, back to the fucking best stuff. We talked through kind of how season 1 started up, but I was talking to you about the technology and the volume. Have you heard the phrase before, at least?
No.
So what the volume is a sound stage that they covered the walls and ceiling with,
okay.
With 4K.
I didn't know the term, but yeah.
Yeah. And you'd think that they were on location for everything. I think it's so impressive the different places they give you in this show, right? I mean, they give you the desert planet, they give you the ice planet, but then they give you such detail around those planets.
Yeah, they even go to Thailand, it looks like it's Thailand where, some aliens are trying to mine rice from the from the little ponds and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought getting the inside look at all the Imperial ships and stuff was so cool, and they did that, very effortlessly. I also thought that getting to the like dirty underbelly of finding that Mudhorn was so cool. Like
Yeah.
they introduced so much in this movie, so many things that were, really great Easter eggs, like Jawas, but Jawas that were different. Like, what? There's different Jawas? It's such a cool show, for me. And I've got to love the fact that some of my favorite Hollywood people are involved in it, right? I don't think there's anything Jon Favreau's ever done that I don't like. It's so awesome. And to see him get involved with Dave Filoni, who owned that Clone Wars show in such a big way and worked directly with George Lucas, and
Did
has
Favreau work on that too?
no, he did
Okay.
a voice. He did a voice of the character that is now in. They kind of brought his character back on the Mandalorian, or a similar character.
Who's
Um,
that character?
the heavy, the guy with the big like
Gun?
road, yeah, the big gun guy. Um, he didn't play a similar character in Clone Wars. My bad. He played the character that had the fucking dark saber in the in Clone Wars. Sorry. Um, so was a just a huge fan of them doing that kind of stuff and bringing in so many like celebrities into it, and just great directors. Who knew Bryce Dallas Harper was just awesome at directing?
You mean Howard, not
Yeah,
Harper?
that one. I don't know why I said Harper.
The baseball player, Bryce Harper,
Dude, he's coming back
hits a
this
mean
week.
home run.
He's I've been trying to pick him up in fantasy baseball, so that could be the problem. But yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard, uh, just absolutely killing it from a director's perspective. Um,
Yeah, launch your list of directors in this. You got Taika, Bryce Dallas Harper, or Bryce Dallas Howard,
Howard,
as you like to say.
thanks, buddy.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of different and a lot of directors that I don't personally know, but they all just do a very good job and solid direction on each episode. But you can tell that they each have like a different flair of things, which is pretty cool, because if it's all the same tone, same method, it could get boring after a while, especially if like you kept that whole Western, I'm gonna fucking ride my horse throughout the planet shit for 5 minutes out of a 25-minute episode. You can tune me right out as a viewer. But they did they did end up moving a little bit faster. They did use different modes of transportation, so I was happy about that.
Dude, the modes of transportation, speaking of, like they gave him this cool ship that looked really weird. Did you know about the toy situation with that?
No.
So Hasbro does this HasLab specialty toy thing with Star Wars. They've done it for a very long time. And they did like a Jabba's sail barge, and they do it like crowdfunded. So they'll throw out an idea, they'll have fans vote, and the vote came back after the first season to do the his ship. And 2 weeks after the like self-funding closed, like where you could pay and pre-order it, after pre-orders closed, they blew that shit to hell and absolutely destroyed it. um and then they did just more fan service by giving him a Naboo starfighter. um but I can't speak enough about the first two seasons of this and setting up, um as we moved into what is now and what we've just seen as season 3. So as you were coming into season 3, did you feel comfortable with the characters or know what was going on at all?
Yeah, for the most part, I was in a pretty good spot for it. I was throughout season 2. I was a little bit. Uh, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with the whole Luke Skywalker plot. Obviously, he needed to get out of there, but and it was really cool that he went back to Din. and it's so cool for this little green alien baby. Essentially, his 50-year-old green alien baby goes back to the dude that saved him, and he's just still like this innocent kid. So yeah, um, I was a little lost about the whole the Bo-Katan plot as to what really happened. So she just they literally like wrote everything off in just a sentence. Like, okay, we can't explain all this. Like, yeah, after our last adventure, because I lost the dark saber, they all bailed on me. So that's what happened, right? That's essentially what they wrote in the script to make it as that she didn't have a crew anymore.
Kind of after, yeah, essentially. I think that they all just took the money. They were privateers at that point. She was very Jack Sparrow in this, but Bo-Katan goes back so far into the into Clone Wars, and there's a whole backstory on Bo-Katan that's so huge, and that was a huge part of fan service, getting Katie Sackhoff to play the role.
She was that role in the cartoon, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. We did. I feel that we should say that Ahsoka in season 2 was awesome as well. Like that was just a cool role, and bringing her live to the screen was pretty awesome.
I was sad that it wasn't Ashley Eckstein, but she just is not. It wouldn't have been as spot on as Rosario.
Yeah.
And I'm also I would be remiss if I didn't say that the scene in the episode where they were, when they had finally captured Moff Gideon, and they were, in peril, waiting for the super stormtrooper soldier guys, the super robots to show up, and they fucking single X-wing. Oh shit.
Great. We're saved.
Oh shit. Like immediate, huh?
That was probably one of my fondest Christmas memories of that year, just watching that episode and just be like, holy shit, it's him.
Oh my god, it's R2. Oh my god, was it? Oh my god, they know each other. What is going on here?
It was awesome.
That's why this show for me, like I appreciated the individualized, like they made its own thing, and they gave that Western theme that was so different. And then they found a way to bring your favorite characters to the screen, to the plot, and not just make it a, ooh, look, like they played a role. There was a reason. Like that was one of the most emotional pieces of television I remember seeing that year.
Yeah, agreed. It was tear worthy right there when he takes his helmet off.
He takes his helmet off. They say goodbye. Like that might be one of the most emotional scenes in all of Star Wars.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, like there's a few good ones in the original trilogy, but since Lucas, like I can't think of anything that's been like that, crazy emotional. There's
a
scenes,
positive aspect,
right? Or from a negative one, right? The only one I could think of from the sequel trilogy is, like the killing Han Solo. That was. But then they brought him back as a Force ghost, which killed me. Or Leia projected herself as. There's a whole. They didn't explain it. When they gave Chewie the medal, that got me just as much. But
I didn't feel anything off of the sequel trilogy.
No.
Nothing whatsoever.
Chewie
I was just like,
medal.
wow, they killed Han Solo. That's fucked up.
Yeah. No, but dude, the Luke Skywalker showing up thing was like a childhood dream to see Luke at that level. And then the training episodes and stuff that they did, and the offshoot, seeing the Ahsoka character come in and just kick ass after seeing that character in Clone Wars so much.
I thought she was gonna die right away. Honestly, I was like, oh, they brought her in. Like I knew a little bit about her, and I'm thinking like, well, I guess she can't last because you never hear about her ever again. So she's probably gonna die this episode.
No, you do. You hear about her in Rebels later, so you knew she was going to survive. But either way, it's all of these characters, or most of them, from Clone Wars were Filoni written characters, and he had such a hand in season 3 and the going back to Mandalore piece, which I'm wondering how much you knew or knew of Mandalore in general.
Nothing. I'm just here for the ride.
Nothing. Yeah. Okay. That's the part that, but that brings me to a question. Did you enjoy season 3?
Yeah, I did.
Did not knowing anything about the backstory hurt your experience?
No, because they gave enough of the backstory. It's their home planet. It's poison. I don't know how the fuck it got poisoned, but they probably said it, but it just, like glazed over it. And yeah, I was fine with it. Like if they want to find a home now that the Empire is gone, cool. I get it. I understand it. That's fine. I saw like a lot of negative critiques about this season. I was like, what are you talking about? It's fine. It's good. Entertaining. You got action. You got the cute baby Grogu there. And you have your additional Mandalorian cameos and all that stuff. The only thing that I was surprised by is no Boba Fett.
Boba Fett technically is a Mandalorian.
But I thought that he would come back for something just because I thought that that's how this works.
Is that because that Din carried the Book of Boba Fett?
Agreed.
That's a different episode. We shouldn't talk poorly about that, but
supposedly Tamora Morrison is like kind of pissed off that the Mandalorian came into his season and kind of took it over.
Tamora Morrison should be happy because I think that's the whole reason the season actually was good.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there were some great Book of Boba Fett Easter eggs. Nothing stacked up to the Easter eggs in The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got Grogu and then the Mandalorian that come in to save the fucking day, and the fact that they're all there. Even Amy Sedaris's character was good in that. She made that show better.
I agree. I just it's a whole nother level here though. But they bring in R5 to be his droid, which is so awesome. That they give this original trilogy character that had 5 minutes of screen time this whole new life, right?
That's what I was gonna ask. So it is the same one.
Same droid.
Okay.
Same droid that blew the motivator in
that's hilarious.
The first Star Wars. That's same so droid funny. That has been built by fans for decades.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, is that's that droid. I love that that's his droid that he sends out. I'd love that they went to Mandalore and talked about Mandalore, which was such a huge part of Clone Wars, especially the later seasons. Had a lot of Darth Maul like implications and stuff. Like he took over Mandalore as part of Clone Wars. Is definitely so much cool shit. But it is such a, I loved it. I love that they went there. And I love that you don't know who the Mandalorian is. They like go from Din to, is it Grogu now? Like, is that the story they're telling? They
I would think that it's just Bo-Katan. I think that that's what it makes sense because she's the Mandalorian that has lived on both sides of the code. And I figured
she's the former ruler of Mandalore.
Yeah. So I don't really, I don't know. I'm just along for the ride. I'm having a good time. The action scenes are fun. and you don't know truly who's gonna live or die. So that's kind of the cool thing. Like you become sort of invested in the characters. Like obviously the big dude, the Tate Fletcher character, who he has a huge ass gun. He just fucking mows everyone down. You think that he's invincible. And the thing I don't get about Beskar is that why is it if you know that this is the best armor in the entire galaxy that you don't just have an entire suit made of that armor and you leave some spots to where you can get stabbed and shot? I don't get that. Like, why the fuck don't you have a more like John Wick has a fucking bulletproof suit? This is in Star Wars land. You guys should have something like that. Like, get your fucking life. Let's get some technology going here.
Because that's not the way.
Awful, awful way.
Mm-hmm.
But noble nonetheless that he sacrificed himself and mowed down a bunch of people.
They gave Favreau a beautiful death.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. No, I was just the way they went with this season. They brought back Moff Gideon, which I didn't think they would.
I still don't understand why they even had that plot. I know that they're taking over Mandalore, so they already had like an army on Mandalore for the longest time. Is that what it was?
They had a research facility, and they wanted to mine Beskar.
Okay.
Because that's, if you look at how Moff Gideon was defeated, he was defeated by the Beskar armor and the spear, right? He was, and all of his super droids were taken out by a lightsaber, and Beskar stops lightsabers.
So the whole plot point of, was it the scientist or whatever guy, the guy who was doing the gene manipulations or of the clones or whatever like that?
Purging?
Yeah, I heard or read about some things that are like, oh, this is what's really going on. And so then I saw the whole, is the armorer for the Mandalorians a spy for Moff Gideon or something like that? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's any validity to that or if you've heard that.
I saw the is it a spy thing, and I came out like, spy? What spy? They all fucking fought and came together. I don't think there was a spy.
I don't know like where they come up with this stuff. It certainly intrigues me as a viewer, but at the same time, I don't get it. Like, if that's the case, okay, I guess I can see it just because someone on the internet said that this might be the case. But I don't know. It's because I know so little about these characters.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with some crazy ass cockamamie theory right now and just pretend like it's true. It's like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, oh yeah, Grogu is actually Yoda's fourth toe that just mutated into him. Like what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is so weird as to how Star Wars works. And because the internet works the way that it does now, is that you can come up with a bullshit theory or rumor any day of the week.
I agree. I think the internet sometimes breaks shows like this. And the who's the spy part of it definitely could have been, and I just think it was the female Imperial officer, right? You found out that there was somebody spying on the inside of the rebellion, and they're getting, or the New Republic, and they're giving all this information to these Imperial factions that are fractured throughout the world. But I think that I think they're leading to Ahsoka now, right? And that the fact that they have Filoni involved in this and all of his characters, and they're going to bring Thrawn in, is so exciting to me as a fan.
Who the fuck is Thrawn?
Oh, dude. So Thrawn is a character that was introduced in a novel trilogy back in the 90s, in the late 90s, right? As kind of he was I would describe him as kind of um a Tarkin kind of character, right? He was an Imperial officer, but he was an alien, right? You don't see
Yeah.
alien Imperial officers. He was a blue alien. And he was part of a plot to clone, and create there was a whole Imperial cloning facility that he was part of, and a cloned Jedi master, and all this stuff in this book that's now part of Legends, right? Not part of the actual, like, hard lore of Star Wars. But since they rebooted, they added him as the main bad in Rebels, which was a Disney Plus, and it was cartoon. It was a Filoni driven cartoon as well, that had Ahsoka in it, and a bunch of new characters. And then uh they made some books as well, like they did new backstory on Thrawn. But
So he's
Rebels,
just the bad guy.
yeah,
That's
he's the
that's the
big
big
bad.
bad guy.
He's like the major Imperial influence that
Okay.
would take over control of the Empire in this situation, right? Like, and that's what you're expecting, right? Like, you've seen all these people factioned out. Thrawn has to come in and ascend in this situation. They're telling us that that's going to happen in Ahsoka, which is only going to be 8 episodes. Like, I don't even know about that, but the time period is one where they took Thrawn out of after Rebels.
Better
So,
hope she doesn't walk the desert like Din. Otherwise, you're gonna be pissed off like I was. Like, God damn it, these episodes are so short. There's
well,
so much
dude, I
walking.
watched the previews and it looks like they're starting very closely to where Rebels ended. And Filoni wrote all of the episodes to Ahsoka. Like, there were different writers for the Mandalorian. I don't think Filoni's fucking around. Like, I think there's going to be some awesome things going on, especially the way Disney's going right now. They're being very, very specific about what they greenlight and what they don't. And I think that what they've done with Mandalorian season 3, and giving the fans all of this, I think it sets up a Disney property for a very long time. After season 3, after this resolution, and all of these amazing battles and scenes inside Mandalore, you see the fucking the one thing that nobody's ever seen, a mythosaur. You get all of this backstory. Do you want a season 4?
I want a season 4, but I don't give a shit about the mythosaur. Like, that didn't serve any purpose to me. Like, you should have just not even said anything this entire season. It didn't serve anything. And like, if you're looking to build something for the next season, I don't know. You could talk about that some other time. But I didn't need to see it just sleeping underneath the planet.
Oh, dude, the mythosaur is like their symbol. It's in the background of everything Mandalorian. Oh, so great. Either way,
They're Yeah, but that's one of those things that I just don't appreciate,
I
because
understand that.
what else does it bring to the table?
They tried to introduce it as the planet coming back to life. Like, I thought it supported that plot point. Like, Mandalore's regenerating itself a little bit.
Mm,
But I understand that you were not nearly as excited about it as the internet.
yeah,
All us nerds were
I
super stoked
guess
on that.
I don't know that I get it, and if I knew that part of the history and the mythology, I would be like, oh, that's pretty cool. I just I'm trying to find a comparison as to why I don't care. It's because for me, for the Mandalorian, it's not about the planet of Mandalore. It's about Kane in Kung Fu walking the earth. That's pretty much what it is. Now, as much as I don't like walking for 5 minutes out of a 25-minute episode, I am okay with going from adventure to adventure. I'll stick to that typical TV formula, if you will. But I don't know, man. I don't need to have a home planet for Mandalorians. I'm cool with them just being fucking nomads, going all over the place, getting into shit, rescuing people, fighting for certain causes, and yeah, I don't know.
I feel like you got what you wanted though from the end of
Yeah.
this. If
Oh
they
yeah, for
do
sure.
a season 4, they've set it back to season 1. They're on their ranch. They're out there as a free range lawman, and they're there to serve. And they
Yeah.
could pull that character to wherever, and they had to close the loop, right? At the end of the last season, was he with Bo-Katan? Was he, where was that allegiance going? What do we do about all these Mandalorians? How do we bring them together? I thought they did
So
this amazing job of now creating another world that they're going to be able to visit in all of the rest of the Star Wars stuff and bring Mandalorians in later in timelines while also taking these two characters that have walked the earth like Kung Fu and put them in a place where they can do that freely of impediment by this larger body of Mandalore.
I think what they need to do is somehow Boba Fett needs to get into some shit, and Din and Grogu go back over there, because I like Fennec Shand, and that whole town was just cool to me. I'm not a big fan of Boba Fett as the ruler, as as taking Jabba's place,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I'm okay with them going back there. If they want to have another Western style shootout, cool. I'll fucking watch it. As a matter of fact, I kind of want to rewatch that right now because it was such a cool
Yeah, it was.
action scene and conclusion to that series.
I think that you're going to get with Din what you wanted from Boba Fett initially, right? The book of Boba Fett, which not the point of the episode, right, started with exactly what we wanted, which was actually articulated by Patton Oswalt on Parks and Rec, which I'm sure you've seen that, right? Single hand comes out of the sand. And it just was so cool that they did that. And I don't know if it was fan service or if it was just, whatever. But you got him out, but then he decided he wanted to get into politics, which is not what you want from Boba Fett the Bounty Hunter. But Din ain't in politics. Din has all the same accoutrement as Boba Fett, but is actually like cooler. He's not Tamora Morrison, but I don't know how much more Tamora Morrison can do and how his acting range would work in that situation. I love Tamora Morrison. I would listen to him be Boba Fett in anything. And I love that they brought him back to do it. Like all of that. But there's certain limitations that you have with that person that you obviously do not have with Pedro Pascal.
Agreed.
Because he has literally played every possible character variation since the beginning of The Mandalorian, and just he could do no wrong. I celebrate the man's entire catalog.
I mean, based off of that, I like the season. I don't get the criticism. I know there's always going to be some type of critique on everything, but I took it for what a casual Star Wars fan, and I will say casual because I was really into the first 3 movies, but after that, I watched them, but I didn't do any like additional books or the cartoon series or anything like that. But yeah, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's sci-fi, good action, cute little quips from Grogu, and you have solid acting for the most part, not bad.
But I think there's an important question that we need to understand about you and The Mandalorian. Can you do this show all day?
Yeah, it's one of the shows that I look forward to, and I kind of count down when the next season is coming. Now, I will say that I have rewatched a few episodes of each season, and that's very rare for me. I don't normally go back to TV shows. If I like it, then cool, it's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's a TV show. Why do I need to go back? I know how it ends. For this, yeah, I'll watch for the action, for the Luke Skywalker fanboy type of moments. Yeah, it's just a good time.
Yeah, no, I you don't even need to ask. I think everybody knows that I love this show. It's awesome. I've rewatched it a few different times. It was appointment TV for me, like Wednesdays. I didn't care. I was just watching it. I'd watch it on my phone just when it came out, and then watch it on the TV when I had a chance. Definitely one of the few shows that was like, okay, it's out. Need to watch it now.
Well, it's fitting because you are the Resident Jedi, so you are the Star Wars fan.
I do what I can. I do what I can to meet my my assigned persona. No, I'm kidding. Literally joyous to see them do something this good with property that other people have fucked up. So absolutely happy to see it and excited for all the things that come from it. And I think that there's going to be so much more that comes from this show and its success. And I'm excited about it.
Well, until that day hits, I'm Dan, the Part-Time Avenger. That is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Like and subscribe. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This is the way.
This is the way.